I can't stand the media. I'm over it this week. I'm over the internet. Win for me, North.
Ball away under pressure, but it's picked up by Archer again. He tries to crash through the pack. He does. He got through Maxwell, and he has a flying shot at goals. And that is a magnificent Glenn Archer goal. 2 in a minute to the man who the shit.
Welcome back to Further North, everybody. Now, we're coming off some of the darkest times, and we're going to talk to a set of fans that are coming off a very, very fun weekend of football. I'm jealous of. We've got Jake from Saints TV. I mean, I'm so jealous of the excitement and the experience you must have had a few days ago.
Mate, it's not even 24 hours since, so my head is still very in that space, but I'm keen to chat about Sunday's game coming up as well against your boys, so I appreciate you having me on.
No worries at all. Look, you're the go-to, mate. You're the Saints guru as far as I'm concerned. Just paint me a little word picture, mate. What was it like on Sunday against the D's?
Mate, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to describe it. It's very difficult for me to narrow that down into, a couple of words or a paragraph even, but it was just out of this world is probably the best way I could describe it. I've never experienced anything like that in just one quarter, not a game, but just 30 minutes of football. It was a very drastic change to the previous 3 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was following along a little bit, and we did the review pod after the Cats game, and I've been a pretty positive North fan this year, and I still think there's positives to take out of our year. But coming up to the game for this weekend, I'm going into it going North Melbourne have a chance. I'm not saying we should be favourites at all, but have a chance to do something a lot better than what we've been doing. And watching the Saints be flat against the D's was making me feel much more confident than checking the updated score late in the game. It just it really punched me in the guts, mate. I'm not going to lie. It took maybe the last little bit of hope I had away. So look, I'm very, very jealous of you. But look, what were you sort of expecting from the Saints this year, and are they meeting that expectation, or where do you think they're at?
My expectation, I think, going into the last couple of years was we would be in that 6 to 12 range. That's with a fully fit team, which we've not had for the entirety of the season. So we haven't had our fullback, we haven't had our best young mid, who I thought was our best young mid at the time in Mateus Filippo. Now Naz has taken that mantle, but and then obviously Max King hasn't played a single game for over 12 months. So it's been a very makeshift type team, but it's been a good opportunity to introduce some youngsters and mix up some positions and see the likes of Taru, Hasty, Max Hall, who's been awesome. These sort of guys get their chance and carry the brunt of it, which I think hopefully once we get a fully fit team will hopefully make us even stronger.
Yeah, and where are you sitting right now in the ladder? Is it 14th?
Yeah,
off
yeah.
the top
So
of my head?
14th, yeah.
Yeah, do you think, I mean, there's still opportunity, and obviously from a Saints perspective, I'm sure you're looking at North Melbourne as a win, basically. But, where do you think you can sort of finish? Do you think you'll get to a point by the end of the season where you're happy with the season, or is it a bit of a not what we thought? Let's go again next year.
No, I think maybe that was after the West Coast loss. It got pretty hard. Like that's when that kind of hit the fan base. So maybe we're really well off it, or where are we at? We don't really know because we should be good enough to beat West Coast, but maybe we're not good enough to be a top 8 team. So are we in that middling? That no man's land that everyone loves to label us in, which is kind of where I was at, to be honest. But I feel like the turning point was the Bulldogs game. We got done again, and our form's been excellent, really. Like that was the worst patch of football, was the first 3 quarters yesterday against the D's. We've played much better against Geelong, Collingwood, Hawthorn, Sydney. I'm probably missing a team in there somewhere, but we've had some very strong performances, and it's been driven by the youth, not the senior boys. So right now, I think the win for the year is sign Naz, and I think everyone wouldn't care about the results right now, to be honest. We just want to get the future locked in, which you would know better than most. That's really important. Get the signatures, and then you can build on it and bring in some recruits that I think we should be bringing in from other clubs. So I think it won't be a failed year. I don't think come 4 weeks time.
Yeah, fair. What changed in the last quarter for the Saints? What weren't you doing, and what did you start doing? Was it a Demons drop off? Did they just not turn up in that quarter? What do you put it down to?
Specifically, the last quarter.
Yeah. What changed from the first 3 quarters for the Saints?
We played very aggressive football. We actually won the clearances. So we actually got control of the midfield. The previous 3 quarters, Max Gawn was absolutely toweling up Rowan Marshall. Rowe's great around the ground, but he's not a great tap ruckman, hence the TDK link. So I completely understand that. But Gawn was just driving it down their throats. And when a team's getting domination in the clearances, they're getting more entries, they're getting more shots. It's a damn wall waiting to break. And it did break. It did break. They were comfortably up, 46 points up. So we turned that around and, Naz kind of did what he did. Max Hall, Windy, Hasty. We were just proactive, man. Like we just took the game on, nothing to lose at that point. And clearly the belief you need belief anyway. You need to believe you can still win it. There's no point taking the game on if you kind of checked out mentally. So that was the most impressive thing was, we executed it, but clearly they kind of thought they were in with a chance the whole way.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy stuff, and look, like I said in the intro, a fan base on a very different end of the spectrum of happiness this week. Have you seen much of North this year, and especially obviously we can talk about last game a little bit. Like, have you watched much of North, and what are you sort of taking maybe from the year and more so from the last few weeks for us going into the game?
Yeah, it's interesting. The most I've seen a bit of North, but the most full games that I've watched are you're pretty much your 2 best wins. And you could tell me what games. Oh, you drew to Brisbane, so that was pretty good. But I'm talking Carlton, I'm talking Melbourne when you flogged both those teams and you looked really good. Those were the 2 full games that I've watched. So I've only really, the most time I've given to North is when you've been on top. I haven't really watched some of your more disappointing performances. I saw a bit of the Geelong game. I'm not surprised that Geelong won comfortably. I'm more surprised by it's just like, I don't know, the ease.
It's the
like,
fashion
it's a
that
weird,
happened, yeah.
it's the fashion.
Yeah.
It's like the margin itself. Like, I mean, we've lost twice to the Dogs by 71 and 72. So I can kind of understand where you're coming from, where it's, the lack of effort and where to from here. Like, where's the next steps? Who's the next star? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel? So I completely get it. I'm expecting a response. Like, I kind of saw it and go, great. Of course.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, we got West Coast when they had a very emotional week with Selwood, obviously, and we knew they were going to be up for that, and that was their best game of the year because they were so emotionally driven. North have copped a flogging. We played Bulldogs when Darcy went down, and then the return game against the Dogs was Darcy's return game, and Bont's return game was the first game against the Dogs. So we're kind of like, great, it always points to, they're going to be up. Of course they're going to be up for this game. But, I mean, I think there's still plenty to like about North. I think you've got a good list. Your youth is very good. I think there's it's hard to describe how you might be feeling right now. But I think it's, if anything, look at what we did this week. Three-quarter time, I'm like, great, North are going to flog us. And then at full time, I'm like, you know what? Bring it on.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I'm just, the point is, football is amazing in that way that things can turn around very quickly. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at that a very similar way. Like, I always try on the podcast, and I'm sure you try to do as well, is be as objective I'm a fan and I love the club and I get emotional, but, take a little bit of time, then come on and record this and try and do it more, maybe not necessarily analytically, but from a point of view of like, what is real and what's not, what's my emotion and what is actually happening here. And you're so right. Like, three-quarter time, I was looking at the score going, you know what, we can beat these guys. We absolutely can. And then 20 minutes later, bang, there's no chance we're winning now. And I understand that emotional reaction, but our best has been very good this year. And and I think majority of this season, we've been really competitive. But the Hawthorn one, and then obviously with the Geelong one recently, they're these spot moments that feel really, really bad. But I still am like, well, those good performances are in us. And we're coming up against a team, that has had their ups and downs as well. But like you pointed out before, there's a little part of me that goes, you know what, us getting smashed might be better going into the game, just because if there's ever going to be a response and if there's ever going to be a week where things change, big calls are made, and the players and the leaders of the club go in there and go, all right, it's do or die right now. It's going to be this week. And that excites me, even though, once again, don't expect to be favourites at all, and we shouldn't. And Saints fans should be going into this thinking this is a win because that's on us, right? But there's a part of me that just sort of excites me that let's see if they can respond. And if there is, we're going to feel a lot better. So, look, swinging it back to the Saints a little bit, what's something this year that you think you've done good or something you've done bad? Has anything changed from last year to this year with the Saints to put them where they are?
I think our method, the way we play, is very different. I don't know how much you've watched of us, but the narrative around Ross is very defensive. Defend first, attack second, this sort of thing. But our best football, and that's why I think we've been so competitive the last 6 or 7 weeks against like Melbourne are the first team in 7 weeks since Melbourne that we'd played a team not in the top 8. So we've had a 6-week run of just playing teams that are all in form, all battling for top 8, top 4 positions. So it's been a slog, but I think we're playing a faster brand of football, more exciting brand of football, which I think suits the players that we've got. We talked about in the off-season we were, supposedly the best running team, endurance team in the competition based on all the metrics. Maybe that had a factor yesterday. Maybe we just completely gassed Melbourne and they just had nothing in them. They don't have the fittest midfield going around. They've got a big contested midfield with Track, Clary, Viney, but they're not. You would never think that they are long-distance runners, whereas we've got a lot of those. So maybe that came into fruition. And we don't have that big Max King. So our forward line's been a little bit unpredictable, which in certain games has benefited us because there's no known target. So Sharman, 1 week he goes off. Then Mitch Owens, Jack Higgins has been, he's kicked the most goals he's ever kicked in a season. So I think it's maturity. It's the youngsters getting better. And it's players like Naz going to an absolute all-time level that lift players around him too. It's not just him carrying it. There's other players around him that would be inspired by the sort of football that he's playing, and he's carrying us forward, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like with the Saints not having that big key target up there, we're overly critical as North fans on our team selection. We're playing at least 3 key defenders down there, and sometimes even 4. And it's outrageous, and that's something that I'm really interested in this week to see if anything changes. Because if we're the lower team, we should be thinking about the opposition and covering them more than the opposition for us usually just plays their game style because it's North. And because you don't have that big target up there, I really wonder what we're going to do with like a Comben and Will Dawson, Pink plays, Griffin Logue plays. They've experimented with Charlie Comben up forward, but geez, that cannot continue. He's our best defender. So I don't know what they're doing there. We've got a young guy in the twos, Matt Whitlock, 200 centimetre player who kicked 4 on the weekend in the VFL, and he's what I believe is his first ever game in the forward line. So it's interesting, that I think we're always going to go in quite tall, and I don't really know how we're going to cover that Saints forward line, even though I guess no players really standouts bar Higgins maybe up there with goal kicking record, but they're those medium-sized in-between players and the same players that I point out for North, like your Zerhas and your Curtises, where they can be a bit of a matchup nightmare. Do you think the Saints have that advantage maybe in your forward line with matchups? Because even someone like Owens and, what type of player do you put on them,
Yeah, I think our forward line can be a little bit of a headache. Melbourne didn't have Lever and May, and so their medium-sized defenders clearly struggled in that back end of the game. They handled us for the most part, but Sharman kicked 2 in the last. Naz has been playing more forward as well, so he's kicked 7 goals in 2 weeks. So in a weird way, I would say he is one of our more dangerous forwards because he's got the ability to take a grab, kick straight, X factor, as well as Higgins. And then last couple of weeks we've played Max Heath, our young ruck, so he's gone back to Sandy. I think he was dropped mainly because they didn't have May and Lever and we didn't want to go in too tall. But prior to that, he'd played a couple of games and given us that 200-meter outlet long. So, I mean, if you're going in tall, maybe there's an opportunity for us to play Heath again, bring him in as that full forward, which kind of spreads the load for everyone else. Because there has been games where Sharman and Owens are, they're bullied off the ball, they're undersized a little bit, and If the ball's not getting to ground, they're not really getting to work. So that would bode well if you've got some good intercept markers in the team. But we're at our best when it's chaos ball and it's coming in quick. It doesn't really matter what the matchup is there when it's one-on-one. And that's what happened in the last quarter yesterday.
It feels similar to us too, because even in the Geelong game, I really felt like when the ball got into our 50, I feel like looked pretty dangerous. It just never went in there. You know, Zerha and Curtis can be, like you said, a bit of chaos ball and a bit sporadic, which is great. I mean, I'm really hoping for Larky to come back this week. I think Wardlaw will come back this week, which are going to, and even Cooper Harvey, who had a really good 3-week patch for us, kicking a lot of goals. So, you know, though, especially Larky and Wardlaw coming back, I really, really hope they do. And I think that's going to help us a lot if that does happen. But what's an area maybe for, as a Saints fan, you're looking at North that you think if we were going to play well in this game and get on top of you, is there anything you look at for us that you might be worried about at all?
I mean, Larky's always a headache, like he's the main target, and our backline is pretty undersized without Dougal Howard. So Caminiti is 198, and then you've got Wilkie at 194, Taru at 194, which I know North fans are very, they like Taru very much based on what I've read online. Thank you very much, guys. So we've got them. Taru played full forward for a bit of the game yesterday and kicked a goal and looked great. So he's been thrown at both ends. Caminiti started full forward yesterday as well. So 2 of our 3 key backs yesterday played out of the square at one point. So Ross is not afraid to throw the magnets around. So if Larky plays, that's probably a Caminiti job. And then Wilkie would have to just float off a Zerha or something and support, which we've kind of done well for majority of the year. We haven't really been manhandled in that respect in terms of forwards. Maybe Cameron 5 last week, but Taru was on him and he kicked 4, and then Wilkie kept him to 1 after that. So that's manageable. And then the midfield, I think the midfield with Cherry, who's a very, very good ruckman.
Well, he won't be playing. He's still got 1 week suspension.
Okay, so scratch that. Even better. Because that was going to be my main worry, because Rowe got towed up by Gorn. I'm like,
this is the last week of his suspension from the Melbourne game.
So who's in the ruck?
It'll be Bryn Teakle, I reckon, unless they throw the young guy, Taylor Goad, for us, who's a very good prospect, but very, very raw. So I don't think that'll happen, because Coleman Jones came in and then did his calf the first week after an 18-month Achilles injury. So it'll be Bryn Teakle, I reckon, who is probably more suited to a forward and is okay around the ground. I think he battled super hard the last couple of weeks against, well, I mean, Stanley isn't the greatest ruckman ever, but a seasoned veteran, and then Grundy the week before. But I mean, look, you'll have the big advantage ruckman wise for sure.
Yeah, because that was going to lead to my next point in terms of the midfield battle. Is your midfield would you say that's the strongest part of the ground?
It should be, but absolutely not this year.
On paper, it should be.
I'd say our midfield, has been very underwhelming. It depends who we get back, because LDU has had some sporadic games this year. We're like, there we go, that's what we want you to do. But he hasn't done it the last few weeks. I think a lot of our midfield's very one-paced as well. Wardlaw will be the biggest difference if he comes back. He's had a couple of weeks in the 2s now, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be coming back in for this one. He's got a new haircut and a mustache too, so I'm very excited to see him run around with that. But if Wardlaw's in there and LDU can pick it up, I think our midfield can be super dynamic. I don't know why we don't throw McKercher and Finn O'Sullivan in there for a little bit more. I think Simpkin battles his heart out, but his skills can let him down. Parker, I've loved what he's done this year, but maybe getting a bit tired towards the end of the year. And, Phillips isn't playing. Tom Powell, I think, is a very first gear sort of player. I don't know what he adds other than stability and decent disposal. But, our midfield should be great. And it's just not, to be honest. I think our forward line's the most dangerous area. I think if we get repeat entry in there, Curtis, Zerha, Larky, even Jack Darling, I think, has been great. Cooper Harvey, even though he only played 3 games, kicked multiple goals in all those games, I believe. So, I think we can be dangerous there, but it's getting it in there, which is very difficult for us, it seems. And getting it in there cleanly as well.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, cherry out kind of is the cherry on top there, but no pun intended. No. I just think Rowe will wake up and be like, I'm not playing Gorn this week. That's nice, because he's had a few tough weeks. But no, I think, the midfield battle is going to be interesting. We've kind of mixed it up there. Filippo played, he's been injured the last few weeks and he trained fully last week. So whether we're keen to bring him in, I don't know, but that would be very nice. If you're bringing in Wardlaw, bring in Filippo and put Naz in there and see what happens. It'd be quite exciting. But in terms of other danger points, it's probably just if we was that a flash in the pan that last quarter where everything just worked? Um, we're going to go back to how we played the first three? Because I thought the last quarter reflected what I'd seen in the last 6 weeks, not the previous three. So the outlier was the 3 quarters. Probably credit to Melbourne. They probably slowed us down a bit. But if it's an open game, I don't know what North's like what you would describe as North's brand. Are you a fast attacking team? Are you a contested team that loves repeat stoppages? How would you describe the way you play?
Contested for sure. I feel like our goal is to win the stoppage battle and get the ball forward. I think the problem with that is we just haven't been getting without Jerry there. It's been very very hard to win that battle. Even though I think, look, as long as someone competes in the ruck, I think you're still a chance of that. Um, but like I sort of pointed out before, like I think Parker, Simpkin, and Powell are the 3 that have played a lot of CBAs. With LDU was out for a week with concussion, and then he's come back, and Wardlaw's been out for a while. It's very one paced, and they just don't win clearance like those other 2 guys do. So, if those guys can, if Wardlaw's back and LDU can step up, and we just hack the ball forward. We never kick it in there nicely unless McKercher's got the ball. So if we just get the ball out of stoppage and get it forward, I think that's our real game plan. But as soon as it's an open game, we're going to get absolutely torn apart. I mean, we got no Jackson Archer, no Luke McDonald for our medium sort of defenders. So I do worry about your more mobile forwards as well. And yeah, look, if there's any run off half back, we're just a sieve through the corridor. Our midfielders don't have a defensive bone in their body, except for George Wardlaw, to be honest. So that's the bit. If it's open, I really, really worry. And our skills aren't the best either. So our main goal is to win the ball from a stoppage and get it forward any way possible and lock it in. And, even against the Swans, a couple of weeks ago, our pressure was incredible. Tackles, the energy was up, and we were causing mistakes from the Swans. And that's why we were in the game at 3/4 time and then just, died out in the last quarter a little bit. And then, look, I always knew we'd get smashed by Geelong, to be honest. Well, like we said before, it was the fashion of which it happened, which was really, really bad. But look, if we can win that clearance battle and get that ball forward into our 50, I think your Curtises and your Zerhas can be a real threat. But yeah, if it's open, and I don't know how you see your ball use, but if you do think, like if you can move that ball cleanly in open space and quickly, I think it'll be tough for us to defend that, especially with McDonald's and Archers not playing.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. It's nice refreshing to say that that's our game plan. Our game plan is not slow. It's not, chip it around and waste time and milk the clock and play defensive. It's very much, Sinclair, Naz, Hasty's been an unsung hero the last few weeks because we've put Naz into the midfield. We've kind of replaced him with Hasty at half back, and he's kind of maintained that little bit of spring from half back to rebound. So that's been really great. McKercher, by the way, is probably my favorite North player. I think he's a star. I think he's right up there as top 2, top 3 players for you guys. I think he's the best kick. Even in a disappointing season, when I've watched him, he's always trying. He's always trying to make something happen. He's not a guy that just wants the stats. He actually tries to create, and I really value players like that instead of just high possession, which I know Sheasel's probably on the flip side where he's been kind of accused of that, just getting a lot of the ball, not being quite as damaging. But yeah, I think this will be an interesting game, to be honest, mate. I don't know. I think for North, at least from my perspective, and I'm keen to get your thoughts, is it like, yeah, your best has been really good, but I think maybe North fans can correct me, maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it's your worst is still on the other end of the scale. Whereas a lot of people say development isn't like winning against top teams, flash in the pan type. It's bridging the gap between that best and that worst so that when you're losing, you're still in the game. Do you find that that's kind of when you're out of the game, it's not you lose by a point, you're getting done by a lot?
Yeah, I think so. I think we struggle to run out games. But it's funny. It feels the last month has felt so different to maybe the 2 months before. After we lost by a lot to Carlton on Good Friday, we put in, 6 to 8 weeks of unreal football. We were contested. We were clean with it. We were in every single game. We didn't get beaten by more than like 4 or 5 goals, I believe. And then it just sort of flipped again, to be honest. But we've had sporadic wins around that as well with Carlton and with Richmond. And look, the West Coast one wasn't pretty, but we got the job done, right? And then all of a sudden we just look flat, and that did coincide. And I hate the injuries excuse because does it mean something? Yes, it does. But I feel like it maybe comes up too often. As soon as Larky went down, as soon as LDU went out, McDonald went down, Sherry got suspended. That's when our bad form really, really started, maybe 4 weeks ago. So and they're some of our best players. They're, all in our top 5 best players, maybe bar McDonald, even though he was really, really good this year. So, a team like us has no depth. I think for teams maybe like ours, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like the injuries thing really hurt us compared to, I don't want to hear any Geelong or Collingwood fans talk about injuries because they've got depth and they've got players that can step in. And that's the biggest difference between the top and the bottom. So it's really weird. And like you've been pointing out, you just don't know which team's going to show up. And I'd say a month ago, I would have said we have more good performances than bad. And in the last 4 weeks, it's flipped. But then the Saints is sort of the opposite, where the last 6 weeks or so, you've been really competitive. But before that, we didn't know what was going on. And, you're definitely better than us and have a better list currently. But I still think these are two teams where you don't know exactly what you're going to get. And right now, today, this very second, I feel like I can be more confident that the Saints will show up than North. But I don't know. I'm hoping for a miracle maybe, or I don't know, man. But it's possible, and I think we can do it. Have you got a tip or a prediction for the game? What way do you think it's going to go?
I'm backing us to play more like that last quarter. And I think we should win, build off that momentum, and hopefully it'll be I'm expecting a response from North, so I don't think it's going to be anything like what you've dished up in the last few weeks. So I think I'd be happy with a 5-6 goal win. That'd be nice. If we could do it. We kicked 9 goals to nothing in the last quarter yesterday. So if we can maintain the rage, play some attacking brand, and if you say, like you say, those players like Cherry, they're such a big loss. I think if we can dominate the midfield a little bit more than we did against Melbourne, that bodes well for kicking it. Hopefully, a winning score.
Yeah, look, I still just believe we can do it, and I don't. And I.
It's because it's us. Let's face it.
It is.
You think we're the easy beats. You're like, you know what? We see St Kilda and we're like, bookmark that. I reckon we can bounce back.
Well, from someone who's been on the end of that for a very long time, mate, I think you can understand. But yeah, like, it's not necessarily just because it's the Saints. I think I've seen the Saints the last 6 weeks, and they have been a lot better. I just think it's a game. It's more about the response than it is maybe St Kilda for me. I believe that there'll be a response. And
have you had responses this year after bad performances?
Well, yeah. Well, after that first Carlton loss, that's when we kicked into our best form of the last 5 years, in my opinion. We lost to Port by 9 points over there after getting spanked by the Blues, and then we went on a run of losing by under a goal. And we got our wins in that time as well. So, I've seen it. If we can get Wardlaw and Larky back on top of a couple of others I want to see, plus, I don't know, maybe Clarkson sends it back to basics and tries to do a couple of things that worked for us earlier in the year. I'm going to back us, and I'll say North by a couple of goals, but I don't expect us to be favourites at all. And I think the Saints should be winning this one, but I'm going to back us to respond. And if we get those inclusions, I'll say North by 2 goals, but I'm watching through clinched eyes at that point.
I think for both fan bases might be Sunday. Was it Sunday 1:10 or something like that? 1:15. So it's prime time slot, big crowd, no doubt.
That's my genuinely. 1 o'clock Sundays, just for me in my life, is the best time slot. Sundays the cruisiest day. We're going to go. I think me and Marnie and a couple of the other guys are going to go and get brunch beforehand, cruise to the game, and I'm not going to get home at like midnight after the game. It's fantastic. So, look, Sunday 1 o'clock at Marvel. That's where you got to be, guys. So, look, my last question for you will be, and this is the most fun one. Off the top of your head, how many players who have played between North and St Kilda can you name?
That have played for both clubs?
For both clubs, yeah.
Oh, damn. North Melbourne. Mason Woods one.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is there over the years? This is going to test me now. Big time. Oh, Nick Del Santo would be another.
Del Santo. They're the 2 easy ones, I would say. And
great, because they're the only ones I know.
There's 2 more I could think of.
Wait, are they playing right now or like just all time?
One plays right now, but I can't remember what club he's at. If he's still on the Saints or not. And then the other's retired. A very interesting name.
Retired. this is going to be
So I'll give you a clue. One's known as a bit of a journeyman.
bit of a journeyman. Mate,
Mm.
I am in struggle
Ruckman.
town. Oh, Ruckman.
Yep.
Ruckman?
Oh, he plays for the D's now. That's right. He doesn't play every week though. He's in their twos, but he's played for a bunch of teams. Ruckman.
Ruck for the Saints. Did
Yeah,
Did he ever debut for us? He
I
actually
don't
did.
know. I feel like he's
this is
debuted for no clubs, but he's been
this
on the
is probably
list.
why I don't know him, man. Tom Campbell.
Yeah,
sorry.
Tom Campbell, there you go.
He got Clubman of the Year in 2023. I actually
Clubman of the Year,
had a good chat with him at the BNF. Top guy, very nice guy.
I mean, look, you don't play for that many clubs and not play many games if you're not a great bloke. You got to be a locker room guy. So, I think we all liked him when he played for us too. I don't know how long he was at North. And there's one more. I'd say, 2010s. Geez, was he half back or wing? A very unusual name. First name is unusual.
Halfback wing. Oh,
I know,
Faz Ray.
Yeah, that's right. Farron
Yeah,
Ray.
he's top guy. He's got a cauliflower business. He's a legend.
Cauliflower business.
They're like cauliflower crackers and dip. It's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if he's still doing it, but there you go. Bit of a plug.
Kind of want to try those out now. That actually
Yeah,
sounds
I'm pretty
all right.
hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry now too. And Fraser Gehrig's got his tough turf business as well. So look at the ex-Saints being entrepreneurs. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're doing well off the footy field, Good for them.
Unreal. That's all that I could name as well. So look, anyone listening on YouTube, please put your comments below and tell me someone in the 90s or the 70s that we forgot or something like that. They're the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. So it's always fun every single week. I point this out every week to everyone, but I could name Jade Rawlings instead of Sean Higgins for the Dogs and North a few weeks ago. And I looked back at that one and I'm like, and Sam Power. I said Sam Power before I thought of Sean Higgins, which is outrageous.
Wow.
But, that's how deep my North brain goes, to be honest, deep in North.
It's in rot mode. Yeah, I understand.
Unreal, mate. Well, look, that's all. We'll leave it there. Thank you for jumping on. Good luck on the weekend. I'll look out for you at the game, and if I see you, I'll say hello. But if we're down by about 100, just go easy on me.
No worries, mate. Happy to do it. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you so much to Jake for coming on. Always good to chat. Always good to get Saints TV involved. They're one of the goats of the podcasting in the social media AFL world. Love that he gave me some of his time. Thank you so much, Jake. You're a legend. Good luck on the weekend, sir. Now, lots of stuff going on around North Melbourne. If you're on YouTube as well, please subscribe if you can. My goal is to get to 2,000 by the end of the year. That would be fantastic. That is my goal. If you love the podcast, you want to support it, subscribing, liking, and commenting on YouTube is the best way to do that. People ask me how to support the show. That is the best way. Tell your mates, subscribe. If I can get to 2,000 by the end of the year, it'd be incredible. I made a video saying, call We Need to Talk, saying that some of the media and the opinion around North Melbourne is incredibly sensationalised. Go and watch that if you haven't. Very mixed in the comments. I wasn't really up for some of the negativity in there. If you're one of those overly negative fans with nothing positive to say, or if your opinion is negative, but you lay it out in a rational fashion, more than welcome on my posts, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. But if you're going to take things out of proportion, be overly negative for the sake of it, create petitions and things like that to sack certain people, it's not the people I really would like in the comment section down there. So we need to chill out on that, okay? Let's get into live team reaction. This is a big one. There's 4 ins that must happen for me if I feel like we can win this game. Now, I've written them down here. I should have had them in front of me. All right. I want, at minimum, Whitlock must come in. That is the key position forward that we need. I've been saying this for a long, long time. He kicked 4 on the weekend. He's a target up there, can take a great mark, was good at leading up at the footy. Whitlock in. Larky, I've listened to Clarkson's press conference. We'll talk more about his press conference soon. Larky must come in. He's going to be in the squad. They're going to test him on Saturday, apparently, to see if his knee's okay. Wardlaw in and Harvey in. They must come in. If they're available, this is a winnable game. I do not want to see debutants and first-time players to get a crack this week. This is a winnable game. This is a game we have to win, have to try and win. I don't want to see new players getting wheeled out this week just to give them some game time. This is not the game to give people game time. That's next week and the last round of the season and against the Cats and stuff like that. I'm not interested in Taylor Goad coming in. I'm really excited about him in the future. This is a game we have to go balls to the wall. We need to respond. We have great players coming back in to get us clicking, okay? Out for me will be Finbar, Banch, Hansen Jr., and Logue, to be honest. I don't think Logue hasn't been as bad as everybody is saying, but last week's performance, some of the lack of awareness around Jeremy Cameron, you just can't do it, to be honest. So, the only other one I was considering is maybe a Constanti out for a Payne, because Payne deserves a run, but they're not going to make five changes, I don't think. It's going to be an extended squad anyway, but yeah, I'm more talking about what I would finalise. So I think give Payne a crack the week after. Constanti, I'd love to do the tagging job if Wanganeen plays off half back, like he did to Bailey Dale a little bit against the Dogs, which worked really well. But hey, maybe Naz will play in the midfield or the forward line. Who really knows? They're the changes. In Whitlock, Larkey, Wardlaw, Harvey, out Finbar, Banch, Hansen, Junior Logue. That's what I would go with. I'm very ready to be let down by this, by the way. Let's have a look at the team lineup. 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. No Whitlock. Disappointing. The rest are in there with Will Phillips and Geordie Payne. Okay. No Whitlock's rubbish to me. Rubbish. Oh, God. Anyway, Finbar and Simpkin out. Really interesting. Simpkin out. Crazy. And Dersma staying in over Simpkin. I heard, what did Simpkin have? He left training track early, he said. So I can't remember exactly what it was. But hey, we can cover Simpkin if we need. I wonder who will captain. Probably Larkey or Sheasler. It'll be one of those guys, I guess, because they're the Vices. All right, let's go through it. Larkey in. I mean, not a guarantee. They're going to test him out and finalise that squad. Wardlaw, Payne, Phillips, Cooper Harvey. Phillips is an interesting one. Could Phillips be for the tag on Wanganeen? Geordie Payne deserves a run after the game, and Cooper Harvey obviously comes in. Finbar out makes sense to me. Finbar hasn't really blown me away at all. I know there's a lot of Finbar lovers out there, but he is, at the moment, not really it for me. The fact that Whitlock isn't playing is a travesty, and he deserves to be playing first round pick, 200 centimetre key position player, what we are missing. The problem for me then is if Larkey doesn't get up, we've got Darling down there, and that's it. So, yeah, not the best team selection. I'm over Charlie Comben in the forward line. It doesn't work. He's not a good forward. He's a defender now. He is our best defender. Looking at our defence, Dawson, Comben, Pink, and Logue, running it back with those again. It's uninspiring, to be honest. I'm really disappointed in this team change. And I said I was ready to get let down, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that many players in the back line with that height just doesn't work, to be honest. So, yeah, we might, if Larkey doesn't get up, we're rolling with Darling and Comben forward. I guess that balances the team better, but it doesn't work. So, yeah, until Whitlock's in that forward line, I'm not going to be that excited, to be honest, because he deserves to be playing in that forward line. And until he gets in, the club isn't showing enough ambition for me. I know I like him, but the problem with our side is we're not balanced. We're not balanced at all. Like I said, if Larkey's out, we're rolling with Chom and Darling up there. Common's a defender now. Darling's aging. He's been very, very good, and I love what he does. But what are we going to roll with at the end of the day? Dersman's not going to offer anything. He'll get 10 touches max this game. It's those sort of ins and outs. I genuinely probably should have made Dersma come out instead of who did I say? JK for Payne, to be honest, because he just doesn't offer much, does he? So look, I don't know, man. If Larkey plays, I'm excited. Larkey, Wardlaw, Harvey back in excites me. Hopefully Phillips for the tag. Payne, if he gets a run, that's good. But geez, the forward line is not balanced at all, is it? How can you roll with Payne, Curtis, Zerha, Constanti, and Cooper Harvey down there? It's just not balanced, is it? And Zach Banch. Crazy, man. Crazy. Wanted to see a little bit more. And, Robert Hansen Jr. Oh, my God. Crazy stuff. Anyway, let's go on to some news so we're not going too long here. Toby Pink re-signed this week, a 1-year deal. Absolutely deserves it. Probably deserved a couple, to be honest, but Toby Pink has re-signed. That is awesome news. Played a lot of games this year, more than anyone would have thought. And been probably, I mean, apart from moving Common forward, I mean, Common's probably been the guy back there, but he's been a staple and a pillar down there for us. So fantastic stuff for Toby Pink. Congratulations, Toby. If Chloe is listening, I've heard rumors she puts it on sometimes, the pod, and lets Toby listen. So Toby Pink, a guest we had on here, one of the best guests I've had. I loved him. Such a good dude. And Chloe's great too. So if you're listening, guys, congrats. Well done. Absolutely deserves it. You knocked it out of the park this year, Pinky. So great stuff. Some other things we can talk about here. Jake Lever interest as well is interesting. Look, it's the rumour mill this time of year. I'm not taking too much of it seriously. Would I want Jake Lever? Yeah, I would. It's probably better than Jeremy Howe, to be honest. I don't know why he would leave Collingwood. Lever makes a lot more sense to leave. It's a bit of a sideways step to North. Could we be better than the Demons next year? Yeah, I absolutely think so. It makes it tough, though, because Logue or Pink or Lever won't fit in there. Like Dawson and Comben are staples of that back line. You're looking for the third key / slightly undersized key that can play tall and small. Logue's archetype of player is exactly what we need. He's just not quite good enough. But Logue, after a preseason, I'm going to give him another shot next year. He's been injury interrupted for the last couple of years. So I'll give him one more shot next year for Logue. Lever I would take, but I wouldn't want that to move Chom forward because I just don't think Chom is suited to the forward line as much anymore. I think he's been such a good defender. He's a 200 centimetre player that loves the club that I think could be in the leadership group that we need to be playing. And Dawson, I mean, Dawson is very impressive at 19 to be doing what he's doing. So they're your pillars. Could Lever play around them? Yeah, sure. But Logue, you can't fit Logue, you can't fit Pink in. I guess that's probably meaning our defense is upgrading, even though I think Toby Pink absolutely deserves his spot. Yeah, I'd take him, but I would be concerned it would take time off Chom or Dawson. They're the things I'm worried about. So let me know what you think about that down below. Would you take him? And if you would, do you think you can play Lever, Chom, and Dawson in the back line together? Is that too tall? Let me know. Clarkson's press conference, that's something else I wanted to touch on. I loved his press conference. The journalists are asking such rubbish questions like they always do. Nothing constructive, just trying to get a headline off him and trying to get clickbait off him. Journalists are genuinely the scum of the earth, especially Damien Barrett. What an absolute tool. The biggest melt I've ever seen in my life, that bloke. I hope if he ever gets seen in the North game, make sure you boo him. I hope they put him up on the big screen one day to North game and the crowd just rips into him. He's a melt, that bloke. Anyway, Clarko's press conference, just speaking logic. And this is what I believe I'm trying to do. Maybe I'm out of character here and I think I'm speaking facts and everyone's thinking, Josh, you're ridiculous. You're so stupid. A lot of people tell me that. Even though I feel like I can back it up with a little bit of logic. Clarkson was speaking facts and I loved the attitude that he had in the press conference. He's saying, look, the last week was bad, but, you know, we had half the team was under 50 games and we've got 3 or 4 of our best players out of this team. You look at the dynamic of those two teams coming up against each other and it's crazy. You had Gold Coast not kicking a goal in the first half the week before, and then they just destroyed Brisbane. That doesn't make any sense. They didn't get any heat. Brisbane didn't get any heat. You had Port Adelaide and against Adelaide in a derby at their home, 2 teams closer together on the ladder than us and Geelong, and Adelaide lost by nearly the same amount we did. They haven't copped anything. Not in Victoria anyway. I'm sure they're getting ripped in Adelaide, but the media cycle for North is damning us more than it is Port Adelaide, who have had an awful season. So everyone's coming down on us. Doesn't mean the good things that we have done this year don't count. It all is up to the Saints and the Tigers game. I will judge this team after that. Clarkson was sort of going along those lines as well. Trying to get clickbait rubbish off him. Are you still invested in the club? Do you still want to coach? What a waste of time those questions are. I've been really pissed off this week, guys, to be honest. The amount of negativity and hate that's come the podcast way is outrageous. It's the most I've copped, and it's got to me a little bit this week. But hey, I'm pushing through. That's life on the internet. But thank you to everyone who sent positive messages and support and that sort of stuff. yeah, I need you to back me up in the comments if you're with me and you support me, and you like the way I do it, and you like the attitude I try and bring. Get in the comments and spread the positivity for North Melbourne. There's a lot to be negative about. I agree with that. I'm not saying everything is rosy, but what I'm saying is it feels bad right now, but there's a lot more to be positive about than it feels right now. So if you're on that side, North Melbourne needs you to back them up on social media a little bit. All right, let's tip, and we'll get you guys out of here. Bulldogs Giants. I mean, I've tipped the Giants. They're currently 20-1 down. But hey, that means nothing after the last week of footy. So I'm going to go the Giants too. I think they'll get it done in the end. They are on a hot streak, and the Dogs don't usually beat teams above them. Adelaide Hawthorn, great game. 2 great games to start the round. Adelaide, give me Adelaide. I hate Hawthorn, so hopefully they get crushed. I kind of like the Crows. They're a fun team to watch. They're one of the only fun teams. Them and Collingwood. I know we hate Collingwood, but Collingwood is fun to watch when they're on. So are the Crows. Give me the Crows over in Adelaide. Melbourne West Coast. I mean, Melbourne's going to win that game. West Coast are diabolical. Richmond Gold Coast. Gold Coast will win that one. The Dimmer curse only exists at Marvel Stadium, so they should touch them up pretty easily. Sydney Essendon are atrocious. Collingwood Brisbane. Collingwood get this one done. Brisbane, I'm still not convinced. I won't be convinced till they do it in the finals and the prelim or grand final. Collingwood, it will be a tough game. Collingwood coming off a couple of ropey performances. They could lose first spot on the ladder, which is crazy, but I think they get this one done. North Saints, I mean, I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm going to go North by 2 goals. I genuinely think this is winnable. And if we get those ins that we want, I think we can do it. I think we can absolutely do it. The Saints played 3 quarters of disgusting football and got a free kick from a 666 infringement, like when we lost to Sydney with the interchange infringement and won the game from that. I'm great win, crazy stuff, but they didn't, they weren't the better team on the day. Absolutely. So, and we're not as bad as we played against Geelong. I think if Clarkson can go back to some basics with getting Chom back in defense, and, we had that 2-month period where we were keeping teams under, around 70 to 80 points. We can do that. Why is he throwing Chom forward? I know Larky's been out, but there's your pillar, you know what I mean? So if we can get back to basics with our defensive structure a bit, I'm sure he's put a rocket up him, and I'm expecting a response this week. So I think we can do it. Geelong Port, Geelong by an absolute country mile. Freo Carlton, what a gross, boring game. No wonder it's Sunday, 5 p.m. Fremantle, obviously. Thank you so much, guys, for listening and sticking with the pod. The fact so many people tune in still when it's a little bit of a tough time for North right now. Thank you for sticking in and just being part of my message, trying to find positives where there are positives and not trying to ignore them, even though there's a lot of things going wrong as well. Subscribe. It really, really does help me. 2,000 by the end of the year. That would be fantastic. If you can help me with that, I would really, really appreciate it. Facebook, Instagram, that's where to follow along if you want your thoughts read out in the podcast. If you've been liking the new format of the podcast, which most people have been, you want to get your thoughts read out, follow Facebook, follow Instagram, and that's where you can reach me and I can read your thoughts out on the show. I ask for those every week. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you soon. Chat to you after the Saints game. Go North. Get to the game as well. Get to the game. We can win this, and they need your support. Get to the game. See you soon. Bye.